Look, I'm telling you about all these thefts so you can understand what the city, the people of Culiacan are experiencing. Because it's not just about the shootouts or resignations. No, they are directly targeting the civilian population who have nothing to do with this conflict. Car thefts at all hours. Businesses being robbed all day, vandalism, looting, tire punctures, and I'm telling you this so you get an idea of what's happening. Well, in the morning, banners appeared hanging in various spots in Angostura, Guamuchi, and Mocorito. The messages said the following text. To all the population and competent government, we distance ourselves from charging protection fees to commercial establishments, as well as from thefts, extortions, and everything related to that topic. Through this medium, we inform you that the company does not engage in and will not engage in these types of activities. On the contrary, we are here to not allow those kinds of abuses. Do not fall for extortion by people who want to take advantage of the conflicts occurring in the area. Sincerely, El Paris and the company he belongs to. We are proudly part of CDS. How do you see it? The pot calling the kettle black. There's no doubt that nobody wins them when it comes to lies. On Saturday, October 12th, a peace caravan moved through the main avenues of Culiacan. Dozens of people dressed in white with flags and band music. They marched, calling for an end to the violence that is tearing their city apart. However, that brief moment of hope was merely a pause in the storm, as incidents continued to be reported. In the afternoon, another 200 elements of the Mexican army arrived, further reinforcing the military presence in the state. Now pay attention to this event. In the Rivera de Lumaya neighborhood, a confrontation broke out when a group of car thieves tried to take a man's truck, but the guy was actually a police officer from the Public Security Secretariat. Assigned as an escort, he got caught up in the conflict. In the exchange of gunfire, the escort was injured, but guess what happened next? He took down the three attackers, making it clear that just because they come with big guns and threats, it does not mean they will always win. It was proven that they are not invincible, and they can also lose. Another high-impact event occurred on the Laguna de Canachi Highway. 3 bodies were found in the morning. 3 more lives lost in a conflict that gives no respite. On October 13th, the wave of violence continued, marking the start of a difficult week because in the morning, a group from Pizza robbed a motorcycle shop in Plaza Palmares in Calibramiento. This time, they did not just take anything. They stole high-end motorcycles and vehicles with significant commercial value. Meanwhile, and as usual, another 250 soldiers arrived in Culiacan, a presence that is honestly more than sufficient to stop the wave of violence that grows daily. But, as we know, they need to receive orders from above. And well, we do not know when we will see that happen. Monday night the 14th, more blockades, but this time further south in the municipality of Culiacan. Close to 11 at night, on the Sabinar Bridge, the road was filled with vehicles blocking the way, and there were reports of clashes in Guadalupe de los Reyes, Cozalá. The real version is that this clash took place between René's people, the 00, clashing with the Sombrero group in a skirmish that left several people taken down. Reportedly, drones were used to track the René group, as they arrived on foot in the Monte and caught the Sombrero group by surprise. But in the clash, the René group eventually fled, and the Sombreros people pursued them for quite a while. Several of René's group were left out of action there, at least 9 people and 1 or 2 from the Sombreros' side. It was a good ambush, but it did not help much because, in the end, They ended up losing, and the element of surprise did not do them much good. Some shopping centers in Culiacan didn't escape the looting either. That night at Plaza San Isidro, several stores, including a jewelry shop, were stripped of merchandise in a looting that left the owners with significant losses. In the Benito Juarez neighborhood of Costa Rica, authorities seized tactical and military equipment from agents of El Sombrero. The next day, the violence continued. The highway connecting Culiacan and Mazatlan was the scene of another grim discovery, once again at the El Canachi Lagoon at kilometer 122. Here, 5 casualties from the PYSA were reported. In the highway incident and later on, the discovery of a missing young man in San Ignacio was made. Another tragic event, being found lifeless and wrapped in blankets. That same afternoon, a new clash between civilians broke out in the direction of San Ilona y Mala. In total, more than 20 people were killed that day. The situation in Sinaloa is becoming increasingly complex. Military reinforcements kept arriving, but the streets of Culiacan show no signs that the violence is letting up. By Wednesday, October 16th, the arrival of 150 additional soldiers to the thousands already present once again captured attention in Culiacan. In the municipality of Navolato, at the Las Puentes fishing camp, there were reports of shootings and at least 3 damaged vehicles. This fishing camp is significant because it is a strategic location where pizza would set out in boats to attack the town of Las Arenitas in El Dorado. Look, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. Look, as you can see, here is the known town of Licenciado. Benito Juarez is Villa Juarez, better known as Villa Juarez, here where I'm showing you a route you can take towards the springs of the fishing village I mentioned, and from here they head out by boat to Las Arenitas of Las Arenitas, I suppose, because as far as I've heard they have not succeeded. But from here, they try to get to Sanchiceles, to El Cuervo, and from Cuervo, obviously, to El Dorado. From Sanchiceles' purpose is also to reach El Dorado. That's why this town is important to them and for reaching the Las Arenitas. The blockades from the confrontations extended along the highway at kilometers 120 and 136. Today, there was a lot of activity as once again, a group of the Toleraspis from Rene 00 arrived on foot in an area controlled by those from Sombrero. And within minutes, the RN00 group received vehicle support. This led to a confrontation, but the RN00 group was overpowered by the Sombrero group, and most of the RN00 people fled. Well, the ones who managed to escape because several surrendered, and many others were detained by the National Guard for trying to flee in trucks. Here, I'm going to show you images from that day. It was extremely violent that day. They were really beaten at this site. But watch the images, and we'll continue later.
Mira. 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 Güey, vámonos, güey. Vámonos, súbanse conmigo, súbanse conmigo. Mira dónde venían estos güeyes. Los sicarios, ¿qué? Mira. Mira. Espérate. Ya se van todos mis plebes de la verga. ¡Ah! ¡Hijo de puta! ¿Dónde sea, mijo? ¿Dónde sea? Súbanse todos, falta nadie, que no falte nadie. Súbete.
¿No te cambio, va? ¿No te cambio?
No. ¿Qué pasó? ¿Por qué están parados?
Nos pararon aquí la guardia.
Dele.
Dele.
Paisa, bien verga.
Perdón, mejor, es que también me lo tiras.
No, mijo, aquí no. Ahí de aquel agua en la puerta, paisa, dámela.
Abroche su cinturón de seguridad, por favor.
Mijo, a la verga, güey. Te los voy a agradecer.
Viejo, le puedo tomar.
Abroche su cinturón de seguridad, por favor.
Espérate.
Ya chingaron un güey, ¿no? Ahí se cayó un güey.
Pero tiene buen tiro, son como 3 güeyes, ¿no?
Dos.
You've seen the videos, friends. They came up with a good strategy, entering some from the north, those from La Pizza, and Renee's people from the south. But in that area, they were already waiting for them. And they got stuck there. The road was blocked by logs and trucks. The images of the detainees and their impounded vehicles are circulating on social media. Many roads were blocked and dozens of people were taken straight from Renee's group to La Cruz and Mazatlan. In fact, in La Cruz. They stole an ambulance to transport the injured because, I'm telling you, there were a lot of them. And to top it off, in Guasimal, towards Tepuche, El Pozo, and those areas, another confrontation was reported, but this time it was people from P.I.S.A. against the government. There, more than 6 from Ella Pizza were resigned, along with detainees and secured vehicles. There, 22 long guns and 12 vehicles were secured. Here, I'll show you images from that event.
Fueron elementos del ejército mexicano quienes abatieron a 6 civiles armados durante un enfrentamiento en la sindicatura de Tepuche, al norte de Culiacán. Los informes obtenidos señalan que los militares decomisaron al menos 2 camionetas, 6 armas largas, decenas de cargadores, municiones y equipo táctico. Según los datos, el encuentro se dio en un camino de terracería en las inmediaciones del poblado El Guasimal, ubicado al norte de El Pozo. En un principio se informó sobre 7 víctimas, luego se precisó que 6, cuando las autoridades investigadoras se dirigieron al lugar. Al parecer será la Fiscalía General de la República quien se haga cargo de las indagatorias, debido a que estuvieron involucrados elementos del ejército.
And to top it off that day, in Tunks Ayalota, the government also gave them another hard blow alongside the pizza, and left them with several resigned and injured. That's why I'm telling you that the hospitals in La Cruz and Mazatlan were full of pizza people due to all these events where they lost. Thursday's events once again brought new reports of clashes. Around the town of El Diez, there was a clash between the 2 groups, leaving 3 vehicles from the pizza damaged. The violence spread to other areas where similar incidents were reported in several sectors, with clashes occurring in more than 12 different locations. For 2 days there was an uneasy calm as not many incidents were reported, but there were still some resignments. Because that happens every day, but on Sunday the 20th, the calm that had characterized the last few days was broken. In the Canachi Lagoon, a violent clash was registered again, involving several groups, and these events extended further south. So the thing is that the ones with the sombreros had arrived at the place and were attacking those from the pizza. And the guys with the sombreros won, taking out around 4 people from La Pizza and leaving several wounded. They fled towards La Cruz de Elota, but on their way back, they ran into the government. And that's when the government made the guys with the sombrero run, but not without a confrontation first. Some man-gun were injured, including 2 soldiers. I'm going to show you some photos and images here. On Monday, October 21st, in the rural community of Plan de Oriente, better known as El Doce, located approximately 11 kilometers east of Culiacan, a confrontation erupted, resulting in 20 resignations and 1 arrest. Elements of the Mexican army carried out an operation to capture Max, a member of the Sombrero faction. Upon arriving at the location, the armed forces were met with a barrage of gunfire from more than 30 members of the cell protecting El Max. The confrontation was intense and prolonged. After more than an hour of the skirmish, the military forces managed to take down some man-gun, but the majority were executed just like what happened to the Chore. They also achieved their goal of capturing El Max alive. On site, they secured 4 machine guns, 17 long guns, 5 short guns, a Barrett rifle, ammunition of various calibers, 13 tactical vests, 9 ballistic helmets, and 7 vehicles. El Max was considered a priority target for the Mexican army, at least since the year 2022. He had been identified as a generator of violence whose activities had an impact in Baja California. His name and photograph appeared on a list distributed by commanders of the 2nd Military Zone, part of the 2nd Military Region, based in the city of Mexicali in April 2022. He is also identified as the operations coordinator in San Felipe, Baja California. He had an outstanding arrest warrant since the year 2019. This has been one of the first significant losses for the Sombrero faction. Also in the Elota region, tensions escalated. A clash between military personnel and a pizza group sparked an exchange of gunfire, in which the area was engulfed. Reports indicated that the confrontation was direct and that the military presence in the region was having an effect. There, likewise, the military forces were the victors. Pizza suffered 5 casualties. On Tuesday, the 22nd, an unusual event caught the public's attention when flyers began to be dropped in some areas from an airplane. These flyers were attributed to the Mesa group. Here, I'll show you a picture of the flyers. On Wednesday, the Navy conducted an operation in the town of Roble in the Elota. However, this operation brought with it multiple reports of abuse. In the past, sparked a wave of complaints in the community. The residents expressed their concern about how the authorities treated them, who, according to testimonies, had acted aggressively. And there is a reason for it. That group of the Navy is controlled by the pizza. And that day, they were ordered to act in that town because there were members of the people with the sombrero there. And that's why the Navy acted aggressively. Here, I will show you a video of the Navy patrols that were involved in the abuses in the Roble community. On Friday morning, another disturbing discovery was made on the road known as the 12th, where the bodies of 4 people were found. A few kilometers from the San Pedro district, another incident occurred. Officers from the Navalado Municipal Police were ambushed. At the scene, 2 officers, a man and a woman, lost their lives and 2 others were injured. Here, I am going to show you the images of this event. Similar events occurred on Saturday in Navolato. A white truck was hit by moving vehicles shooting at it. In an attempt to escape, the truck's driver lost control and crashed into a wall. The attackers stopped and opened fire, leaving 2 people dead. Another person tried to flee on foot to a nearby field, but was also shot and killed on the spot. One of the most talked about events this month was, without a doubt, the discovery of a cooler in Park 87. It was found and decorated with gift wrap featuring pizza images. Inside, there was a head left with a warning for the pizza group. The deceased was a relative of the Chapitas and the cooler. It contained a message that said, "Isn't the government supposed to be on your side, Chaporatas?" Here, I'll show you the image. On this very day, something happened in Mazatlan that hadn't been seen in a long time. The man-gun forced the resignation of a retired army major who was working as a bodyguard for one of the Mazatlan officials from La Pisa. What is impressive about this case is that the major working for Ocran was in an armored Cherokee, and for the man-gun to get rid of him, they fired over 2,000 shots. Just imagine, more than 2,000 shots were fired at the truck. They practically tore it to pieces. They shot it with 50s, with AKs, with Rs and everything. And obviously, the truck did not withstand it. It was something impressive. The events took place at the Villa del Real neighborhood. Here, I'll show you an image of how the truck ended up. On Monday, October 28th, the municipal police of Culiacan finally resumed patrolling the city starting at 6 in the morning. Almost 1,000 members of the municipal and traffic police hit the streets with their equipment after 33 days of absence. I'll show you the video of their return here.
Regresan tránsito sin
Mountains of Durango, in the town of Vascogil, the hometown of the Cabreras, the people of La Pise threw explosives, sent a plane, and dropped about 3 or 4 explosives. Thankfully, they exploded around the village, in the hills, and not where the people were living. Honestly, what they're doing is outrageous. Now they're throwing explosives at villages where people live who have nothing to do with it. This is escalating more and more to a much higher level of intensity, and it's becoming crazier with these animals. It makes me wonder, what comes next? What's now? Because they always do something worse than before. What a shame, truly, that they have ruined Sinaloa so much, just for their ambition, for their greed. But anyway, here are some images of this event.
Desde una avioneta lanzaron 4 artefactos explosivos. Los estruendos hicieron correr a los habitantes. Con uno, Omar Hernández, corresponsal en Durango, informa. Desde una avioneta lanzaron 4 artefactos.
Y venían tirando bombas, pues nosotros, pues muy asustados, empezamos a sacar nuestra familia, a nuestras mujeres, a los niños. Pues queremos ver de que pues no hagan eso, porque pues nos van a atrasar las criaturas y ¿qué vamos a hacer? 4 bombas estremecieron hasta las casas, una cosa muy fea, la verdad.
That same day, one of the iconic spots in the city of Culiacan, the Chupa Rosa Enamorada restaurant, was set on fire. This restaurant, known for its family-friendly atmosphere and freshly baked bread, was the perfect place to take the kids to see the ducks at the river. And to feed those same ducks, it ended up being a victim of extortion and threats from the Piazza group. The owner, a really good person, very hardworking, and I say this because I had the chance to know him. I often took my nieces and nephews to that restaurant, and the man, as I'm telling you, was really nice. He was always attentive to all the tables, offering coffee from the pot, freshly baked bread or cheese, whatever was needed. It is truly a shame what they did to this man. This man refused to pay the extortion, and well, they ended up setting the place on fire. They are trash. They are scum. I hope they get what they deserve. But that was not all. Listen carefully to what these animals did that same night in the Bonatera neighborhood. Another incident left us all stunned. 4 women, 2 of them young and 2 more adults, were hospitalized after a fire erupted in a house. But obviously the fire was started by those from Pizza who were looking for someone at the place. I mean, do you realize how messed up these people are? These kinds of acts make it clear that these scum have no heart, and that anyone can be a victim of these idiots. Since they do not distinguish between age or guilty from innocent, nothing at all. But let's see how they will end up as well. Here, I'm going to show you the video of the Chupa Rosa. To wrap up the day in the Sierra de San Ignacio, a confrontation in the area known as Los Brasiles resulted in the arrest of 12 people and 2 casualties from the same group, the Man Gun. The SEDINA explained that along with these people, 19 long guns, 148 magazines, cartridges of different calibers, 9 tactical vests, and 15 ballistic plates were secured. They were all people from La Pisa, specifically people of Rene the 00, who controls San Ignacio since he is from a village in the Sierra called La Joya. And to wrap up, on Sunday, November 3rd, at the Cuba field located in the Costa America district, Mexican army units faced off against a group from La Pizza. There, at least 3 vehicles were seized, some of them armored. Among those captured, guess who? Guess who showed up again? None other than a guy nicknamed the Phantasma, whose real name is Marcelino Ticante Castro. This guy had been out of prison for less than 4 months and, Well, he definitely didn't learn his lesson. Looks like he'll be spending another 15 years behind bars. Honestly, this news about his capture left me speechless when I saw it. I didn't know what to say because the real expert in delusions and jokes told my friend Gafe that the Phantasma was resigned. That was the reason he hadn't known him, because obviously if the Phantasma hadn't been resigned, of course Memelin would have known him, because he knows all the characters from the Ocran. But hey, we can't miss this chance to see this gem.
Opinión acerca del fantasma. De los...
Sí, de los 15 gafes que eran 15, era el grupo que habían hecho de 15 cabrones, que cuando hay un corrido que se llama El Abecedario, que es cuando caen los ranchos, donde estaba el mayo y todo eso, conformada de 15, que fue lo que pasó, que estuvieron a punto de agarrar al Chapo una vez, y el Chapo los contrata, que era Bravo, el Fantasma, varios, pues. Conocí a varios de ellos.
Yo escuché una historia del fantasma y yo estaba reclutísima. Cuando escucho esta historia del fantasma, se dice que él había sido un miembro muy importante pues de fuerzas especiales.
Sí, que era de esos 15 que te digo.
Y supuestamente alguien le hizo algo de su familia. Así como escuché yo esta historia, algo le hicieron a la esposa del fantasma. Y que cuando él le pide apoyo al gobierno para actuar, no se lo dieron. Y el que dicen, así fue la historia como yo la escuché, que Chapo Guzmán estaba escuchando o supo sobre esa historia del fantasma.
Y lo ayudó.
Yo te ayudo.
Sí, exactamente, ayudó a todos, es lo que te digo. El Chapo Guzmán ayudó a gente que por eso lo ven como un ídolo.
Y quizá mucha gente, porque muchos son jóvenes todavía, Camilo, los que nos ven. Y no se ponen a ver el pasado. Y quizá ni siquiera en este momento se ven quién era el fantasma. Ya les entra esta curiosidad.
Y van a empezar.
El fantasma. Y el correo del fantasma. Y sepan sobre ese personaje que intimidó en su momento también.
Sí, cómo no.
¿Llegaste a conocerlo?
A él no, pero conocí a varios de ese grupo. Pero pues, como eran 15, o sea, me hablaban muy bien de él.
¿Tú por qué ya no te tocó conocer a Fantasma?
Porque en ese entonces, pues ya lo habían matado cuando yo estaba en México, pues operando en México. Cuando yo llego a Sinaloa ya lo habían matado.
Ese fue el motivo por el cual ya...
Sí, que no lo conocí.
Opinión acerca del fantasma. De los...
Sí, de los 15 gafes que eran...
What do you think? The story he tells about the corridor. Oh, meme, save those suck-ups for your puppeteer. And stop making things up. You don't know anything about the corridor. Later, I'll tell you what really happened with that corridor. Just to let you know. What my friend Gafe said about the story he heard that someone did something to the Phantasma's family and that Pocha listened and helped is a lie. None of that happened. And well, friends, we have reached the end of this episode. I hope you liked it. And now you know a bit more about what is happening in Sinaloa. As always, do not forget to leave your comments and follow us on all our social networks. You know we have a new segment with Ocran News, and that's how we'll be here, bringing you new options. Join the channel and subscribe because we're going to have surprises in December for our first anniversary. Stay tuned and watch all the videos. As you know, the unique and real storytelling from Ocran's world can only be found here. See you in the next episode. A greeting to everyone.